Welcome, everyone, to this dramatic episode of Incubator.
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, yeah. Welcome, AJ. I think you're on for the third time in a row. So
I like
probably
it.
some kind of record. You've got some important proposals up, some proposals that I feel very strongly about, and I'm sure you do as well. Today, we were going to discuss the progress that you've made on the CoinJoin application. Do you want to say anything real briefly about the status of that before we jump into the main topic for today, which is something completely different?
No.
Okay.
We can circle back.
Fair enough. I've seen the work that you've done on it. You're doing great work, lots of extra work, actually. So thank you for pushing forward on that. Looking forward to it as well. So today's topic is secure platform web SDK. So basically what that means is there was some discussion in Discord about a proposal that you have up that I'm going to go ahead and start my screen share to show. And let's see. There we go. And we'll just jump right into it. This is an interesting month for the Treasury. There's a lot of proposals up. Some proposals will not get funded. We'll leave, I guess, most of that commentary out. But yeah, one of the more interesting proposal months that we have. So today, this is the proposal: develop web SDK platform identities and explore web app. Okay, so this just also as an FYI, I'll just show this real quick. This is the cycle that I was talking about. It looks like we have 32 hours left for voting. And like I said, lots of good proposals. I'll just scroll through here real quick. And this is the proposal that we're looking at today. This is for 200 Dash per month for 2 months. Looks like it's getting fairly good reception so far, but there are some comments that we have questions about the proposal that we will go through now.
Also,
these are some of your other proposals that we may talk about at the end, but go ahead.
I would like to loop back around. I think we'll have plenty of time because the concerns here are these are not like big, easy to address. But I would like to loop back around to the address one because I think that one when I originally posted, I had a poor description, and once the description changed, the votes went straight up. But I'm hoping to win back a few of those people that voted no on it because that I think is critically important work. I think it. I'll leave my personal opinion on that. Never mind. But it's critically important work.
Okay, and I actually just want to before we jump into the proposal itself, I want to give a little bit of background as to why we even proposed. We, meaning you and I together, we together somewhat crafted this proposal because it's something that I believe we need.
I would not have submitted it on my own without you. I had some other proposals teed up, and you were instrumental in saying I think this one is the highest priority.
Yeah, and that's
and providing direction.
That's partly because of my overall vision for Dash platform, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So actually, I think what I'll do is I'll just I'll break to just us for a minute. What are we building with Dash platform is a question that we should all be asking. What actually is the value proposition? I think a lot of people have some idea, but I think some people are also a little bit foggy as to what makes this different than other blockchain projects, Web3 crypto projects, and also who is our target audience. So I see that there are two main subclasses of our target audience. There's one group of people who are the crypto bros, the blockchain people, Web3, alternative to the Solanas and Ethereums of the world building so-called dApps, decentralized applications. What even is a decentralized application? And so that's one group of people. And then the other group of people that I am more focused on, well, maybe not more focused on, but more focused on than most other people in the Dash community, is the traditional Web 1, Web 2, traditional JavaScript front-end developers and serving them. So these are two completely different classes of people. There are a few people that overlap in this. So for example, Anthony Campolo, who we've had on the show several times, who we haven't had for a while, but he's an example of somebody who lives in both of these worlds, has a foot in both of these worlds at the same time. But for the most part, these are a separate target audience. And my question is, which of these two main constituencies do we think that we'll have more success with and more user base for Dash platform with? And I think that we will probably find more success with the latter group, meaning the traditional, typical developers that want to build applications and need a database and back-end functions potentially, and are currently using traditional technologies like back-end as a service or database as a service or platform as a service companies, centralized services that solve a problem for them. They need authentication or back-end functions or persistent data storage. How do they get that? They have to reach out to some service provider. And they are completely happy with a centralized approach. They're completely happy. They just want a problem solved. And then there's the other class of people that are the blockchain class of people that want things to be fully trustless, or at least further on that trustless spectrum than using a centralized corporation. And I think that we can target both of these groups of people. But yeah, like I said, I think that we'll probably get more traction with the former group just because it's so much bigger. And also because the existing blockchain user base, developer user base, I think is mostly fueled by venture capitalists paying developers high salaries to be playing with this stuff. So when people are on Solana, like Solana developers or Ethereum developers or all the layer 2 Ethereum projects, these developers are not just organic, basement dwelling people that want to build an application. These are mostly, I think, developers who are getting paid to work on this stuff in one form or another. And so to think that because or when Dash Platform drops its product called Dash Platform, that they will just come running over to us, I think is not realistic. They're already in their current ecosystem because they're being paid to be in that ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, this is how all development is. When you create something new, you have to target up and coming. You don't target incumbents unless you have something that is typically the magic number is 10, right? 10 times faster, 10 times cheaper. If it's 10 times faster or 10 times cheaper, then you can get an incumbent to switch in the marketplace. If anybody wants to, read more about that and the studies that have been done, you can look up Clayton Christensen.
But you didn't say 10 times more decentralized or 10 times more trustless. I noticed in your list.
Those are moral. Those are moral values, right? So people are not making business decisions typically on moral values. There are some exceptions when something's in vogue, but that stuff comes and goes and people switch back to what they were using before. Just like you see right now, president changes, all the companies put up one flag, president changes again. Now they're taking down that flag and putting up another flag. That's just the moral values are mostly a farce, not something that businesses actually care about.
Well, I think I personally do care about the moral side of things from a very deeply, but maybe not in the. I don't care about decentralization. I care about security. And decentralization is typically a means to security, but it can also go too far. And also, just one last thing that I wanted to mention before we jump into the proposal itself is Vitalik Buterin's so-called trilemma, scalability blockchain trilemma. So his in his paper, he posed this trilemma where there are these three things, and you can have or at least focus on two of the three things, and the third thing is either impossible or very difficult to achieve. And the three things that he mentions in his paper from many years ago are security, decentralization, and scalability. So security, decentralization, scalability. Let's see. By the way, people, just hello one time. Thanks for joining in. And then AJ, you just shared a link to that. So I'll show that on the screen real quick here. But I think that Vitalik is kind of mistaken with the three things. I don't think that decentralization and security are two separate things that people want. I think that, like I said, decentralization is often a means to mostly security, but potentially also scalability. And so it shouldn't be one of those apexes on its own. It should be something that's a means to one of the others. So my trilemma updated is usability. I can't get my thumb on screen. Usability primarily, security, and then scalability. So the two at the base of the triangle, I would say, are usability and security, and then the top of the triangle would be scalability. So once you have usability, which is in other words, features, things that people actually want for itself, and then security, you just kind of have to have security. You can't have a financial system that's not secure, and so you need features, and you also need security. So another way to say those is you need features, a lot of features, and very few bugs. So when you file an issue on GitHub, there's these two classes of things. There's feature requests, and then there's bugs. And so I see those two things at the bottom of the pyramid: usability, security, and then once you have those two things, the next important thing, which the VCs are always very focused on, is scalability. Can you have great features and security, and then do that at scale? Doing that, like broadening your user base. So one thing that's important is that you have to find the right balance. If you focus exclusively on security, you will be taking away from features, and you will be taking away from scale. And
well, it's the old thing that people say: if I have a $20 bill and I want to secure it from you, the best thing I can do is to burn it, because then you can never get it.
Right.
Then I can't use it. Security, usability.
Yeah, and I've never heard that, so that's a very good analogy. Anyway, this is the frame that I would like this discussion to kind of keep in for the viewers. Keep that in the back of your mind, that there is always this balance between usability, security, and then ideally scaling up for scalability, increasing the user base through both security and features. So let's, with that preamble out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the proposal again.
And by the way, I just want to head it off. I think that there's a false dichotomy here. There's no issue of security, and I think that Sam actually outlines in his comment exactly why this will be equally secure in the very first stages, and will continue to get more secure as time goes on. So I think that, like, his comments are actually our best explanation. What he says is really our best explanation for why the security works.
Okay, so do you want to give a brief overview of the proposal itself, what you're proposing to do, and then we'll go through the comments after that?
Yeah, sure. So it's pretty simple. So we want a full JavaScript library for platform. And Yes, as Sam mentioned, it will be an iterative approach. So it's not going to be, and I say that in the proposal too.
I
It's
think
going to
I
be an
mentioned
iterative
that. I
approach.
don't know if Sam mentioned that. I
Sam
mentioned
mentioned it too. Yeah, he put in his comments that it is going to be an iterative approach. And so, yeah, the idea is we're going to focus on what people need first, right? Like what they need first, what this proposal is, you know, what I believe that I'll be accomplishing in this proposal is identities and usernames. At least identities. I'm not sure if this proposal will get as far as the full username loop or not. There's discovery that still has to be done, but that's what I believe is reasonable. If I end up needing additional funding to get through it, then and people can decide whether they think that a lot of these questions will be decided through the cycle of this development. But it's a platform SDK. It's not going to be all of platform. It's going to be the thing specifically that what Shimnick needs, right? That Shimnick is my customer. Whenever you design software, you have to have a customer in mind. A lot of times the customer is yourself. But you have to have some sort of customer that you're working towards their goals. And Shimnick is essentially my customer. I know the minimum what I need to do to help him get his next task done in the web app that he's developing.
And just so people know, this is the comment that Shenmik wrote. We won't read it, but he's basically saying we kind of need this, and I agree with this. We do need a JavaScript SDK, like a good,
and for
JavaScript
multiple
SDK.
reasons.
Go ahead.
Primarily something that's lightweight and easy for JavaScript developers to use, because as you know, most JavaScript developers are not Rust developers. In fact, the two are often in opposition, right? Like there's kind of, and you see that in comments and stuff, like Rust people and JavaScript. Well, JavaScript people I don't think have a bone with Rust people so much as Rust people often have a bone with JavaScript people. Thankfully, I'm a Go person, so
yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. And then there's no such thing as a protocol with a single implementation. That's not a protocol, that's an implementation. And there's been some discussion on this already. Like Dash Core is not the Dash network. Dash Core is an implementation. So Dash Core can't change willy-nilly and decide, oh, we're going to ship a new protocol version because we want to ship a new version of Dash Core. That's, you have to get your vendors and your customers on board with protocol changes. You can't do them willy-nilly. And when we have two implementations, that focuses the protocol in the right direction to make sure the changes line up with what customers and vendors need.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But right now, let's stay focused on what you're going to deliver with this. And I think that you went over it pretty well. I do want to just at least pan through this, the text of the proposal itself. Because you do give these first 4 bullet points: native JavaScript library to register a platform identity. We're actually significantly far along with that. We have some work that you need to review that we had a colleague of ours do some work on. You need to review that work. And I think that you'll find that he actually got a fair bit of the way done with the what's it called? The serialization issues that we were facing.
Yep. And he's a Rust expert. He's not a middler. He's top-notch guy.
Yeah. We have in fact we have a top-notch Rust meetup here in Utah that you actually organize. Even though you're not a Rust guy, you're a meetup guy, and you've organized this meetup that we have some of the best Rust developers around.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at their code.
Yeah.
You watch their presentations. Half the guys are mids, right? But the other half, they are the people that, like, if I needed, obviously, I mean, we've already done this. If I need to hire a Rust developer, I know I've got people there that I can go to, and I can have a great degree of confidence that they're very conscientious developers. They're not just enthusiastic about Rust, but they understand principles of software engineering.
Yeah. Okay. So that first point, we've got updating the Dash HD to support the DIP14 platform keys. That's part of this because DIP14 is what platform uses, and they use a different pathing system than standard BIP 44. So that's
or 32 even. It actually breaks compatibility with BIP 32. It requires a fundamental change to how some of the paths are handled that no existing library on planet Earth handles, because it's completely new invention from that div 14.
Okay,
It's
do you
it's
want to
not it's
say?
not a huge change. It's it can be done. It's a little harder in JavaScript because we have to use big ints in JavaScript to accomplish it. But
And what's
well, I
this?
mean, you have to use big ints everywhere.
What is this server-side JSON Web Proxy for Platform gRPC? Can you tell
So you'll
people?
notice all of the examples on the platform documentation are in JSON, but the protocol you actually have to use is gRPC. So the goal is just to provide a proxy that can run on platform. In fact, Pasta has already asked some questions about this, and I'm thinking that is heading in the right direction. I hope he continues along the line of reasoning that he was going on earlier, that he's actually considering bringing some of the web technology into core, and well, at least core. He mentioned core, bringing some of the web technology into core so that one day, either these proxies will run directly on the master nodes maybe, or that you won't need a proxy at all. I'm a little bit hesitant about that because of the security. Dealing with C++, it's not really a web language. It's not it's not like battle tested for that, whereas Go and even Node are much more secure in that regard. But either way, if he feels good enough about it and he does in C++ and it gives core the ability to be accessible on the web, excellent.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the thing there is making it, because gRPC is not a web protocol, right? It's a server to server protocol. It's a TCP/IP protocol. Well, there is an HTTP adapter for it, but it is fundamentally not a web protocol. It is a binary TCP protocol.
Okay.
And so we need that to be available for web developers as JSON, just like the documentation shows. And the documentation uses a shortcut. It does the same thing that I'm going to do. It uses a Go tool to make it so that you can submit the request in JSON, but then still have it work. And that's exactly what I'd be doing. I'd be using part of that Go tool, most likely the very Go tool that they mention. If not it itself, then one of its libraries, to be able to create that.
Okay. Now, what's this fourth point?
Okay.
Create a
Explorer
web explorer for relevant
yeah. So
platform
just like we have the RPC Explorer, we need to have an Explorer for the DAPIs, right? This is right in line with the other ones. Okay. So the P2P
Insight
Explorer, yeah. Well, it won't be like
but
Insight.
much better than Insight. Yeah.
Well, it's not going. Insight is masking over. It's creating a different API. So if you use an Insight library, you could never connect to a master node or an Evo node to do that same work. This is the veneer on top of it. So we can actually take this Go code and we can load it in with Dashmate and have it run directly on the Evo nodes and the master nodes and have them be able to, basically this is just taking DCG closer to fulfilling their promise of having platform on the web.
Yes,
and having the ability to explore it. It's the two components. It's the proxy that we just mentioned, but then it's the ability to explore it and be able to click buttons and see, okay, this is working, this is working. I mean, we have already the platform explorer. It's got a different focus. It's showing you all of the data going through. This would be focusing on the interactions like the RPC Explorer and the ZMQ and P2P Explorers.
Right. So we do have this. This is one of this is Shenmix's tool. We have this, but you're saying this would be a different approach where you could basically just do some. How would it be different than this?
Yeah, so this one, as you can see, it's about the statistics. It's about seeing things coming through. Obviously, I'm not going to be spending any money on design on this. I've made that clear in my previous tools. I would love to submit additional proposals, work with a designer to bring it together. I think that actually Jojo would be instrumental in that. He's more of the CSS guy than I am. But yeah, so what I'm proposing is form fields where you put in data and you click on buttons and you see it submit, you see it come back, you can verify it, that sort of thing. That's what I'm trying to get to. And in the beginning, it's going to be very, very simple. Like I said, it's going to be an iterative process. Once we get the first full loop, so we have to get that first message through, and then we have to get the second message through. Once we've got two messages implemented, implementing other ones will have a fairly predictable pace, and also the pace will be faster because there's all the boilerplate and groundwork you got to do to get that first message and then the second message, going across sent and received.
Okay. I think we've covered the main bullet points there. You said it was similar. It'll be similar to this. I'll just show this real quickly so that people can see that's RPC Explorer. So it'll be similar in nature and style to this, but for
Yeah,
platform.
go ahead under method real quick, just to show one example that takes 2 seconds. Click in method, and then you should see blockchain info. Click again. You might have to type the letter B for it to the autocomplete to start filling out, but
Blockchain
yeah,
info.
and then click in there. Oh, I forgot, when you screen share, we can't see the list. But yeah,
Oh,
you should be able to get blockchain info, I think. And if you
okay.
just click on try it, it'll fill out. So there, the documentation loads when you select it. You can see the curl example, the fetch example. You can click try it, and then it loads the data.
Okay.
So there we are. So this is it in this vein, something where it's like, okay, this is a transition that I want to do. These are some inputs I need for that transition. I can test it and see, is it working on testnet? Is it working on mainnet?
Yep. So very, very low level. Just give me the data. Tell me what's on platform kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Going back. Oh, forward, I guess.
You're gonna have to click back a couple of times because the URL updates as you change things.
Got it.
So that you can share the URL with other people, other developers.
I highly recommend people to watch this video. It is a short video. It'll give you a very good idea, probably maybe even better and more succinct than what we're talking about right now, of what and why you're proposing this. And again, like we've said, but it deserves to be restated again and again. Platform is and was always meant to be used by JavaScript developers to make it easy to make simple web applications that use platform. And that's what we're trying to do with this proposal. And
by the way, one time had a comment, says moral value. Doesn't decentralization also give reliability and decrease uncertainty risk? To that, I want to respond. All moral values have practical benefits. That's why they're moral values. I mean, if you go back to biblical times, the Hebrews, the way that they had a ritual of washing their hands had a direct impact on sanitation and the safety of the food. Not eating cloved animals. The cloved-hooved animals were the ones that had the worms, so they didn't eat pork, right? So moral values rise up out of things that have benefit. But what I'm saying is that when people choose a value for a moralistic reason, that is not something, not when people necessarily, because people will keep moral values their whole lives, but when vendors choose values for moralistic reasons, it's usually with the political wins. It's not something they stand in. I mean, one counterexample of that would be Chick-fil-A, right? But outside of that, they just change with the wins. So I'm not saying that decentralization doesn't have practical value. Of course it has practical value. I believe in that. But I'm saying that when it's marketed, the way that it's marketed, if people want to talk about decentralization and they want to talk about practical value, they're not marketing as it's decentralized. They market it as it's decentralized to appeal to a moral sense. When they market it because decentralization has a value, they'll attack that value directly and they'll say something like, this is distributed with redundancy across 4 different nodes, or this has 9.99999% proof guarantee, or whatever.
I honestly think that when people say decentralization, they really mean one of 2 other things. They either mean security. It's decentralized, meaning it's secure. There's not going to be some central agency that is going to be able to censor my transaction or change my data. So they're talking about security, or they're talking about scalability. It's decentralized, meaning lots of different people have access to this and have a stake in this. It's not just a bunch of rich fat cats that are taking all of the benefit of this thing. It's decentralized, meaning it's either scaled up and many people are using it, or it's decentralized, meaning it's secure. So I think that decentralization gets too much of the limelight. What really matters is security and scalability, and then, like we said, usability. Let's see. Dash Italia says yes. Good morning. And then Huawei says, let's see. Right now in Discord general channel, Quanta is suggesting that DCG could cut down their current JS SDK, and it would be better than what AJ is proposing. If you're able to read it quickly.
I would prefer to wait on that. Let's definitely get back to that.
We'll get back
I want to go over the main points.
The criticisms yet.
Yeah, we need to get into the main points first.
Okay, let's do that now. All right, back to the proposal. And by the way, Quantum is Sam or anybody from DCG is welcome to jump on this call. I will try to keep an eye on my Discord notifications, and if I see a notification, I'll pop it open and send a link to anybody in DCG who wants to join the call right now and just have a conversation. Because I think that there is some talking past one another here, and as we'll talk about after we get into the Sam's comment, we're on the same team here, and there's definitely a possibility that we will be able to work together on this. It's not necessarily going to be one or the other. We can work together on this. So,
yeah, that's actually one of my bullet points here. And I'm an antagonistic person, right? Like I create some drama, but you also see me, I'll call myself stupid. I'll say, yeah, whatever, I was wrong. Dumb, So like, I don't care whether or not I like the person. I don't like Sam. I don't care whether or not I like him. I care whether or not we can produce results together, right? So that's where I'm coming from. I'm a utilitarian.
Right, and it's unrealistic to think that a decentralized DAO that everybody's going to agree. I don't think that should be even expected. Like we're going to have disagreements. The important thing is that we can get to the bottom of the disagreement and let people have an informed decision about how we move forward. Okay, so Sam, basically, I will pan over this so people can read it. We're not going to read it in its entirety, but I think if I could try to give my best summary of what this comment is getting at, the way that the platform is designed is it's designed on a cryptographic proof system, meaning when data comes into platform and quorums are created to come to consensus on whether that data is valid or not, they create a proof. This GroveDB proof. This is the database. GroveDB is the database that platform is based on, and they create a proof so that and then the Rust SDK is designed to then be the client version to be able to get the proof from the server side or blockchain side and validate that proof is valid. This is math. This is cryptography. We've all had experience with this with asymmetric public-private key pair, typical Dash transactions or signing messages and verifying messages. Everybody in crypto has some knowledge and experience doing this kind of stuff, validating proofs, whether they know it or not. So neither of us, neither you, AJ, nor me, are rejecting that. We acknowledge that that is an innovative and decent way and great way to prove data on platform. What we're saying here. So Sam is saying that if we don't have that proof system, that the JavaScript SDK would be insecure.
No, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said we either need the proof system, or in his estimation, which I'm imagining he was doing quick math and we'd have to verify this, but in his estimation, you would either need the proof that reconciles what does he say? Like, I don't remember whether there's 96 or 400. I think I saw both numbers in there somewhere. But either you need the proof where you've got the 96 or 100 that have come together to produce the BLS signature, or alternatively, if you were to make 10 requests to random nodes, that would provide the same level mathematically, more or less, of verification. So I don't want to mischaracterize what he said. He did not say that would be what would be insecure. It was that either, according to his, and again, I don't want to put him down. Like if he comes back and says, well, actually it needs to be 12, I don't want, right. Whatever, 8, 10, 12.
Let's read this part. Okay. Right. So he says, he meaning you, AJ,
and this and I also we need to clarify what I said versus what he interpreted based on this proposal, which is for the first iteration, right? So I did not say I'm not planning to implement any form of hard proof verification. That is what he interpreted when he asked how am I going to do it in this proposal. I said I'm going to use a verification system rather than a proof system.
Okay, actually, I just got a message. Sam is willing to join here. So let's get him on. I need to quickly go over here to.
I would love it for the sake of efficiency. I would love it if we could go through the 4 points first.
Sure, we will. We'll continue our discussion, and then we'll bring Sam on in 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, because I don't want things to meander to where we can't reach a conclusion when we've got written text here. I've got written text here. I'd love to go point for point because that's very simple and easy.
Okay. So I'm going to read this. I just sent the invite to Sam, so we'll wait for him to join in, and we'll bring him on stage once we've gone through what you're talking about here. So he says, AJ is not planning to implement any form of hard proof verification. He said that he would query. Right.
But go on.
Yeah, he said that he would query many nodes to see if they would agree. So the two basic types of security here, if I can just give a little preamble here, the proof system is what Sam is what platform is designed with. We're actually not rejecting that. It's just a matter of timeline. The other proof system is what you're saying of querying random master nodes, because we have the master node list. We can get the master node list,
as the case may be,
or Evo node list. And you're saying if we just query 10 of those nodes at random, what are the chances that all 10 of those randomly chosen nodes are going to be lying to us about the data that we get back? If we can see that the data is the same for all those 10 nodes, we have an effective proof that, or at least a very, 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 very high probabilistic proof that those are not colluding and that is valid data on the platform. So
and it's not just high probability, because there's actually a mathematical formula for this, but it's like 2 to the 10th or something like that. I haven't worked it out. Don't quote me on that, but it is like you get very, very good very, very quickly, especially considering the number of
the comment there. He says,
yeah.
So he's planning, he said that he would query many nodes to see if they would agree, but this is a weak solution because you would only be safe after querying more than 10 random nodes, which would put a lot of additional strain on the network and take a lot of processing power, processing time and bandwidth on the client.
That is, again, he's already talked about how he's not
Evo node.
He's not familiar with JavaScript development. He's already talked about that. They don't have any JavaScript experts on their team. That's one of the reasons that they haven't. And this was in the general chat. Like, he's talked about this. They weren't really planning the web side of things. They were just working on the Rust side of things. So this is something where I just think that he doesn't have the full picture of how the browser JavaScript relationship works. But also, you finish this, but I'd love to just go. I've got some bullet points I would love to just read off very succinctly because I want to get to the heavy hitters here to make things super clear.
All right. Let's do that now then.
Okay. All right. So first of all, the most important thing here is that we're talking about essentially a single function or a small set of functions. So there's a library that's predominantly business logic, lots and lots of business logic. And then you have a few functions that are key functions, such as a verification function. Now, I have not done enough exploration to see what the interactions of that are going to be and know that I handle all the use cases. But this is something where, when we want to switch out the verification function, which is one in really important piece, and we want to say, we're no longer querying 10 nodes. We're now going to use a small bit of WASM, like what Quantum's suggesting. Cut that sucker down. Export just the WASM for the verification function and give it to me. I'll implement it. You export that WASM, I'll implement it as part of this proposal.
Okay, so I want to underline that because that's important part of your proposal is you're not saying that we're replacing the security model. You're saying we're going to have this security model of randomly selected Evo nodes that will give us 99% of the features that most JavaScript developers are going to care about. And then when DCG can give us a WASM binding that gives us the proof system, we can bolt that in to this. And I'll also say, because I don't think people know this, that the existing JavaScript SDK, meaning the library called Dash, DASH on NPM, that existing SDK is a combination of two main things. It's core blockchain functionality and platform blockchain functionality. And
And we've
huge
implemented
amount of
about
a
90%
huge
of the core
amount.
functionality in 200 kilobytes,
Yeah.
uncompressed, ungzipped with comments.
Right.
200
So a
kilobytes.
huge part of that of the existing JavaScript library has been shrunk by probably 99%. And
90%.
that's a huge part of it. So okay, 90%, whatever. So just adding on the platform part is all we really need to do. And so that's what we're talking about today is how we go about that, and then what the process would be to bolt into our existing JavaScript libraries the platform piece that DCG could hand us, and
Yes.
so
And I,
that's the ultimate timeline and roadmap for this project.
okay,
This proposal is the first part of that.
yeah, so in this proposal, I said, no WASM, no Rust. Okay. Now I just walked that back and said, you hand us the WASM, we'll implement it. I want to reconcile these things so I don't look like some flapping hypocrite, right? I'll still implement and let people choose. I will let people choose whether they want the WASM or not. I'm not going to force the WASM on them. But if the WASM is shrunk down to the verification system, I don't have a problem with that, and I don't think anybody else is either. The problem with the WASM right now is it's too difficult to explain because it's not going to make sense. Because it was done in a way that was haphazard and admittedly it wasn't thought through, it wasn't the priority. But right now the WASM calls into the JavaScript, then the JavaScript calls into the WASM, which calls back into the JavaScript, which calls back into the WASM, which calls back into the JavaScript. So for very, very simple things like, I'm just going to give a really rudimentary example for the purpose of the video here. Set name equal to John. That has round trips back and forth through JavaScript and WASM when that doesn't need to be done. The only time that object needs to go into WASM is during the signing process, not during all the intermediary steps. And so that's where, if we cut down the WASM to the verification function and it's like, okay, here's the JavaScript object I'm going to hand to you because I've already done all the other stuff in JavaScript. We've already implemented that other 90% in JavaScript for core, and we're implementing the 90% that we're going to need for platform. If we just have that verification function, I don't think there's going to be much argument. I'm sure that Shimnick can comment for himself. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I am highly confident that Shimnick will be 100% on board with saying, yeah, let's do the verification function in WASM, but all the rest of it is JavaScript. When I need to open the debugger and figure out where something went or what an object needs to look like, boom, it's there. All right.
Okay. Now we do have Sam waiting backstage. I still want to cover a couple things because I'm afraid that we won't get to them if we bring on Sam right now.
Can I hit my list? I know I'm being eager here.
Hit your list, and then we're going to hit one-times questions because I think one-times questions do a good job of summarizing Sam's comment. And then we'll bring Sam on, hopefully in about 10 minutes. So Sam.
Okay, yeah, and I will.
Thank you for waiting on that.
Most of this will address one time as well. Okay, so security. First of all, we can, you can look at my code. I follow the open close principle, right? I keep things focused on inputs and outputs, which means you're not going to have to go 20 layers down deep and go through a rat's nest to be able to figure out, and I'll be there, right? So they say, okay, here's the WASM binding, and that's going to be a negotiation. That's not going to be, they hand me the WASM binding and I'm going to say, great, this is perfect, I'm going to use it. There's going to be some back and forth there. I'm going to say, I'm representing the JavaScript developer as the customer of this binding. This is what I believe the binding needs to change to fit this shape. Here's the object I want to give you based on what the documentation you've given me. And then they're going to come back and say, no, it's really important that this happens and then this happens in this way. And I'm going to say, okay, then I'm going to reshape my object like this. Give me the binding that fits this object. And that we should be able to reach an agreement there, right? I don't think that we have to be bullheaded about that. I think that's really reasonable that we can just have, a couple of quick back and forths and be able to arrive at an object format that works, right? Not number two, but we already covered the thing about the 10 requests. More on that in just a second. This will, like I said, this will be WASM ready. Now, BLS verification at its core, I think we're about 2 to 3 weeks out from that because we've actually done significant work on this in the past. We were working on a masternode installer tool a while back. We implemented some of the BLS in Go. And we have found an implementation. I believe we did find an implementation that was written in Big Int JavaScript that matched the BLS implementation. So again, it could be more complex than that, but based on my previous work and how far we got with BLS and how my understanding has increased, if we were to fund the BLS library in JavaScript, I think that we'd be looking at 2 to 3 weeks. Again, we're not inventing something here. We're taking what other people have already done and making sure that our inputs and outputs match, that obviously that, you know, we copy the math over straight, not re-implement BLS, and that we, you know, so that's an option too. I don't want to have a WASM binary. That's not my goal. I want to have it in JavaScript. It needs to be a protocol. It needs to be in multiple languages, and there needs to be documentation. And the only way that we get there realistically, anybody who's written code knows this, is that you need a customer. You need somebody to give you that feedback loop. And we can certainly do that from the JavaScript side with all of JavaScript's limitations. I am obviously more familiar with JavaScript's limitations and capabilities than, as far as I know, anyone else. And Shimnick, of course, is going to be way more, have more knowledge about the DOM and the browser bindings to the HTML and CSS, as well as JojaByte. But when it comes down to the engineering aspect of JavaScript, I can confidently say without contest, I am the most well-equipped person in the organization for that. And I don't think that that's controversial at this point.
Okay.
So the second point is that we need to not trust platform, right? We need to verify. Don't trust, verify. The first message that you're going to have with platform is when you use the username is you're going to be getting the other person's keys. You're going to get their public keys. From that point forward, when we're talking about the Twitter clone, when we're talking about the password manager, when we're talking about these message-based systems that people have implemented prototypes of for platform, all of those rely on the identity signature. They do not rely on the quorum proof. The quorum proof is a transport protocol, or the quorum messaging is a transport protocol for the signed encrypted message that is signed and encrypted by the identity. So actually, I don't trust platform's proof because platform is not who I'm questioning for those messages. Who I'm questioning is the person who created the message, right? So we can say that platform's 100% accurate. I don't care if it's 100% accurate. I'm still going to verify the key, which we already have the tooling for this, from the person. So if we need to reach out and do 20 verifications on the identity that we get back through the username, we don't have to do 20 verifications on the messages we get from any random platform node. Not that we shouldn't. We still should verify it 10 times, but we're going to throw that verification away because unless it fails, if it fails, we're going to throw it away. If it succeeds, we're still throwing it away because what we care about is the message that's signed by the identity key, not the message that's signed by that.
Okay.
Wait, couple more things. I'm almost done. Okay. I'm almost done. All right. So, and then along with that, when you think about the scarce resources, everybody who has a Masternode or an Evernode knows this. When you think about the scarce resources, what is it that you pay for every month? You're not paying for network and CPU. You're paying for storage, right? So we're saying, okay, we're going to use slightly more of the most abundant resource across the nodes. Mm-hmm. So if in the interim, while we're getting this thing booted up, if we have to do 20 requests, it's nothing because you're already paying all that money. How many terabytes of transfer are you getting? You're
saying that when somebody gets their VPS, the bottleneck right now is storage. That's what puts them into the next tier for a VPS, and they have abundant processing power to be able to keep up with, like they're basically unloaded right now. They're very
go look at your
in terms of
go look at your graphs. Yeah, there's nothing going on there. So we're saying, okay, well we're maybe forever, we could do it forever, but at least temporarily. I'm not suggesting we do it forever. I'm just saying that I don't actually think there'd be a problem if we did do it forever, because we're only using the most abundant resource. And yes, if we did it that way, we'd have to distinguish between messages that are signed by an identity key, which I think is most messages, versus messages that are public messages that would need to have the additional requests if we didn't implement the WASM at all, or the person chose not to do the WASM. And then the last thing that I want to point out is, they have created an implementation. The protocol is forming out of the implementation. Already we've seen, particularly with the bin data, that some aspects of that protocol simply don't work, because bin data is a serialization format for storage, for database in a Rust. It is not a transport layer. So we already know that with feedback from customers, that protocol would have stayed CBOR at the network layer and only been transmitted into bin data at the storage layer. And we need, hopefully we can get that back. If not, oh well, whatever. But in any case, no, this is not going to take a large team millions of dollars to implement. It took a large team millions of dollars to create novel concepts, but those are now implemented, right? So either there's documentation that we can follow from to be able to go through, or, we reach across the aisle and say, look, I may not like JavaScript, I may not like what you're doing, but I care about platform and I care that it's done right and well. And so I'm going to provide you the resources you need to be the most effective JavaScript engineer you can be, so that you can implement this and have it done in a way that web developers want.
Okay.
So that's what we got there.
All right. I'm going to push us to one-time questions real quick.
Okay.
I want you to give a 30-second answer on each of these, and then we'll bring Sam.
I think I already did, but I will
we've
reiterate.
covered most of it. So just to highlight this bottom question, if evolution gets blamed or shamed for being exploited because of the JavaScript SDK, wouldn't that be tragic? This is the security question. Do you want to comment on that? I think we've covered some of that. The basic answer is
that was misunderstanding. That was a misunderstanding of a comment that was taken in, in the context. Well, first of all, it's not even a misunderstanding, because he clearly understood that 10 verifications meets his, what he feels is best. And we can work out the math on that to make sure, because again, I don't want to, I'm guessing he just threw out the number 10. Maybe he did do it, but whether it's 10 or 12, we'll get that number. So Quantum has already said that this is not the issue.
Okay. So Sam says, my nightmare would be that this becomes the main JS SDK, then gets exploited, and all of Evo gets blamed.
And so here,
how big of a risk do you think there is of JavaScript SDK being exploited, and how confident are you?
All right. So here, I just want to say I am tickled pink that he has that strong of a vote of confidence in me, that he believes that this will become the main JavaScript SDK. That is awesome. And that encourages me so much to work with him to make sure that verification satisfies his needs, starting with the number, whatever number he wants to put out, whether it's 10 or 12 or 15 or 20, whatever number he puts out, starting out totally floored to meet his expectations on the guarantees of security.
Okay. Would this JavaScript SDK put a lot of additional strain on platform? We covered that. The platform nodes are they are constrained mostly by storage, and we have a lot of extra capacity in terms of CPU. Shouldn't be a problem, is what you're.
And also these,
right?
I mean, these, we're talking about stuff that's pretty small. You're not downloading gigabyte movies. This isn't Netflix. It's message passing.
Okay. Will the heavily optimized WASM binding on top of the Rust SDK that DCG is going to make be all that's needed? Or is there a JavaScript SDK preferable to that? Will it take too long? Is there a hurry to have something ready so that JS devs will take interest in evolution?
So so first of all, I think we already kind of answered the first question. That seems to not, the question seems to result in confusion that I think we already clarified. JavaScript developers want a JavaScript SDK. If it needs to have some Rust components as an interim while we continue to build out the JS SDK or whatever, sure. I think that we can make concessions there that we're all happy about. So I'm super happy to see the way that these comments have gone.
Okay.
And will it take too long? Is there a hurry to have something? There's absolutely a hurry to have something, because we've already seen with the protocol that the protocol was not designed with the customer in mind. The protocol was designed with the storage driver in mind, and having that loop where developers that want to use platform are actually using it is going to make sure that platform is driven in the correct direction for the customer. So 100% on this. Yes, we need to have it in JavaScript, and we need to have it available for people like Shimnick and others that are working on prototypes that want to know how it works and be able to give feedback to make sure that it goes in the right direction.
Okay, Sam, welcome to the stage. You're on.
Yep.
You've heard
I'm
part of what we
yeah, I've
talked
been
about, I
listening
hope?
for a while. I'm currently at the airport. So I have a flight in an hour, but I thought I'd jump on and
Are you past security already? So you're
I'm
not.
past security.
Okay, good.
I've been at the Rome airport for the last 8 hours. It is horrible, painful, and everything else. But there is a very nice lounge here. So
Uh, I appreciate you coming on at the
yeah,
airport.
no
I know
problem.
airports are stressful, so thank you for being on. Do you have any overall comments so far before we have any specific questions?
Well, yes, but so I disagree with a lot of what was said.
You
Like there was
disagree
some
with yourself? You disagree with what you said?
no, like no, it's not what I. So
Go
obviously we
ahead.
don't see eye to eye here. It's just it.
You cut out. I didn't hear anything you just said.
Oh,
Did anybody else
sorry.
hear?
Am I cutting out?
Go
Still?
ahead. Say it again now. You're good.
Am I still cutting out?
No, you're good.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do my best here, but I'm not sure that this will really work. I'm streaming over 5G, roaming 5G, so I don't know how much it will work.
It
But
sounds
yes,
good.
Did he just cut out for you too?
Yeah.
Maybe turn your video off.
Sam, if you can hear us, turn off your video. I wonder if I can do that. No,
So in the meantime, the thing that he wrote in general, if you want to bring that up.
Well, why don't you just read it?
Okay. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it again. I thought it was in general. Okay, I'm going to have to paraphrase. Oh, I think this was it. Ivan was saying that he could strip out parts of the current JS SDK and that would be better than what's being proposed. This is absolutely false on the basic premise that they don't have anyone who does web development on their team. Or if they have someone who does light web development, they do not have any web development experts on their team. You can clearly look at the libraries that I've written. Bring up Dash P2P, for example, or bring up Dash HD, or bring up any of those libraries that I've written. Take a look at them. Have anyone, particularly hash engineering, I have great confidence in. Even XK, I don't know anything about his coding skill. Hash engineering, I've actually reviewed his code. He is someone that should not be dropped from the team whenever there's budget cuts or whatever. Like, that is somebody who's got their crap together. And then XK, have them look at my code and see if they agree with that statement. I mean, I don't know if there's political issues, certainly not for XK. I don't know if hash engineering would have any pressure to, appease in one way or that. I hope that would, he'd
Okay,
stick
Sam,
with what he said in private, but
Sam's back. I'm going to bring him on
Yeah.
stage. Sam, turn off your video if you can. I think
no,
that
it's not even that. It's that I dropped my phone. It was connected
Okay.
to the computer. And
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead. We can hear you.
I'm not going to be the sharpest right now because I have barely slept in the last 24 hours, but I will do my best to talk about the various bullet points. How about we start with the fact that you talked about the connecting to 10 different nodes for a specific proof, right? That's one thing that we can start talking about, right? To solve consensus. And I mean,
wait. Consensus is how the whole chain works. Consensus is the core mechanism by which the chain works.
Okay. Let's let Sam speak for a minute, AJ.
All right.
I mean, this was just the solution that you were proposing, connecting to multiple nodes. That's not
you
the
proposed.
Solution.
You proposed 10.
No, AJ,
no.
you proposed it, and he just gave some commentary on it.
Right,
Yes,
but he proposed what it would need to be that secure.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
not going to let him, bob and weave on this one. I'm
Okay,
not like
so
these are
Sam,
going to be facts.
so Sam, AJ's
okay.
saying that you said if
Okay,
we
so
do 10
we
nodes,
can, I
that
mean,
should
it's all written down, so it doesn't really matter. We don't have to guess what was said, right? Um, on the first time, you proposed this, AJ, in Discord. Do you remember that? Yes or no? You were the first one who said that. Yes or no?
I said that you said, how are you going to do the verification? I said by querying multiple nodes. And you
Exactly.
agreed that would be secure if it was 10.
Show
So
me
walk that
where
back
I
now.
show me where I agree, because I say, I mean,
Okay, Ryan, will you please scroll to where he said that 10 verifications would be secure?
it is like, so before we, let me talk about what I was going to say. I mean, I remember what I said here, right? Like, because you would only be safe after querying more than 10 random nodes, which would put a lot of extra strain on the system. Safe, let's think about, okay, I want to give a little anecdote story, right? The first time I met Evan was in Hong Kong. We were talking about Evo back then. It was a long time ago. And we were talking about soft consensus. And, querying and talking and getting like the verification from multiple nodes. And basically, we all agreed that that was a terrible system. And in pretty much the cryptography world, people believe that is a terrible system. The work that we've done for the last, I mean, since 2018, to create, threshold recovered signatures, to create, basically, a lot of the work that we've done is so, we have a succinct proof that can easily prove the state. Now, if you get rid of that and you say, okay, we're going back to the Stone Ages and we're just going to query multiple nodes, yeah, it probably would be
So
safe.
you're going to provide the verification
I
function. We don't
didn't.
have that
Sorry,
problem, right?
AJ. I didn't hear what Sam said at the last of
Oh,
his.
sorry.
Well, I mean, yeah, it probably would be safe. It's the wrong. It's it's not a good approach, because then you're talking to multiple nodes, and then they're not going to be at the same height when you query them, right? You could be asking. I mean, our block time is 2 seconds. Up, like, it's been 2 seconds. You can go 2 seconds, 4 seconds. But if you're querying multiple nodes, you have to get them all at the same height at the same time to be able to get the same data. What happens if you query them and then one is at a different height and the data is changed in the meantime? It gets extremely complicated, and that's just not how the system was designed.
That's not extremely complicated. You wait 2 seconds.
Okay. I mean,
You agree?
well, I mean, the system is made for people to use it as you want to use it. If you want to build it that way, you can build it that way. However, it's not optimal.
All right, but you're going to provide the verification function in WASM, right?
I mean, I've heard that for the first time, what you just said. You provide the verification function in WASM. Now, like, can we
Not
take
the
a step?
SDK, the verification function.
I just don't. Let's. I haven't slept in a very long time. We don't need to yell at me. Can you tell me why you're doing this and what you're hoping to achieve in your first release? And let's start from there.
Yeah, so I would let all of the developers that have tried to work with the code answer that question. And so obviously I'm putting words in people's mouths. I'm going to summarize. It's too complicated and it doesn't work. I personally do not have confidence that your team can create clean, small code, because I see what you did. I see how you have not improved Dash Core at the C++ layer, and I see what you've done in Rust, and you've created some of the exact same design patterns. And I think XK has been the biggest voice in this matter of, self-indulgent code base, right? I have zero confidence that you can produce a code base that web developers will enjoy using. Maybe you can create something that they're forced to use and that works, And maybe it'll take you 6 months to a year, but I know that I can create JavaScript code fast, and you yourself have attested to that. That you said you believe, you have no doubt, you said that I will be able to get this first portion done in the time frame given in the proposal, and your
Where did I say
concern
that?
is that it might become the main library. Now, why would that be if your
Where did I
library is going to
say
be so
that?
great?
No, we
You
can
said
we
it
can bring
both
that
in the
up.
commentary and in the general chat.
Look, if you just are here to yell, I'm gonna
Yeah,
leave.
AJ, let's calm down. We're trying to be on the same team here. I would like to know. So I'll give you an
I'm
answer.
tired of the BS and the bobbing and weaving. I'll mute myself, but I just don't want to stand for it. And if people want to vote down the proposal because I got a bone to pick, vote down the proposal. You know, live with your choices. If you think that this guy who's taken 7 years to get a database message protocol out is going to whip out an amazing web SDK, by all means, defund me, fund the DCG supplemental. Mic drop.
Okay. First of all, you probably shouldn't say mic drop. That should be implied. But secondly, I'm trying to facilitate a conversation here because I feel frustrated, and I know that AJ, you're passionate
Well,
about.
take me off the main. I'm going to mute myself.
Please do for a minute. I, I like your passion. I like your engineering. I know that you can deliver good tools for web developers. I know that already. You don't need to say that anymore. Um, However, my main frustration here is that I feel like DCG has deprioritized the web developer use case and prioritized instead SDKs for Rust developers. That is my main frustration, and I
No.
it's on DCG's roadmap. But if we
Okay.
if we
Can,
don't
can,
if we don't serve web developers, we are fundamentally changing the value proposition of all of platform. The focus
okay. Let me
was always be
let
for
me
web.
answer your concern here because I do want to bring it up. Okay. So it's going to take about 5 minutes, and I would really would really appreciate it, AJ, if you didn't interrupt me during these 5 minutes. So you said, okay, it took me 7 years to build this thing. That's kind of weird because I remember starting on the consensus engine in 2020, late November 2020, and when the current management of DCG did not even know that I was working on it, right? So I basically, just did it on myself to create the system because I did not think that it was going to happen. And I've been working about 100 hours per week to get this thing out since then. And during that time, I inherited a code base that was entirely in JavaScript, which had 4 different databases that were trying to it was a complete mess, to put it mildly. It was only somewhat in a prototype stage, and yeah, it just didn't work. It would fail all the time, and so I do think that what we built was very good. Along the way, we had a JavaScript SDK. And we had this JavaScript SDK, and it had been built by various team members, notably Alex Werner, Anton, Kostya, Javid, and Ivan, and Mikhail. Those were the main developers that contributed. I mean, you can check to the JavaScript SDK. Um, Now, I don't fault Mikhail here because he was only on it for a little bit of time, and he was probably like, "Oh my God, what is this thing?" Because it was such a clusterfuck by that time. And as we needed to release, we can release a platform with the consensus engine and the storage and basically what we currently have, but we can't release the SDK without consensus engine, right? So we can do it in one direction, but we can't do it in the other. So as you know, there is an insane amount of pressure um, to release, and at the same time, we had various developers that were working on the JavaScript SDK leave the company. Well, we didn't have anybody anymore there. The idea then that we had was, okay, well, we'll focus on this when we can, right? And how are we going to actually do this? Well, we need all the proof system that we've built, which we don't have at all in JavaScript because, well, even though it was given as tasks to people in the past, they were not able to do it. And we basically decided that the best approach would be to write a Rust SDK, one Rust SDK, create bindings on that Rust SDK for Android, for iOS, for JavaScript, and through Wasm, and yeah. And with that, we would basically have a lot extra security because it would be battle tested. We have one thing, so if there's a bug on iOS, that means there's a bug throughout the entire system. But it also means you only have to fix things once, and you have like a really robust core. And it's also using the same code paths that the main platform is using for GroveDB, for example, right? And all of this would lead to something that's very stable. Now, why don't we have it out yet? Well, because as you can tell, we released Evo in, I don't even remember, in August, September. It hasn't been very long. And we've been working as much as we can to get, various things that the community want done first. Withdrawals has been something that a lot of people wanted, and various other features. And yeah, our main priority has been, is at this point the Rust SDK. Why? Because right on top of that, we're going to be building the Wasm JavaScript SDK. That was our plan. That is not what I'm going to be working on, but we have different people in our team, right? And when we made that plan 2 months ago, we identified various people that would be working on that. So when I see this proposal that you're making, yeah, for first things, I don't actually think that you'll be able to do it. I don't. And I think that you'll come back and you'll blame.
What specifically do you not think he'll be able to do?
Okay, so there's years of work in the proof verification system, right? And if, obviously things have changed now. So if he wants to just like cherry pick, hey, I'm going to take this thing from Wasm, like this proof verification thing from Wasm. I'm not sure if BLS as well. But if you just want to like cherry pick the things that are too hard to do in JavaScript, yeah, that probably has a higher chance of working. But why? Why are we gonna spend all this money on this when?
What do you mean all this money? 200
there's
dash?
gonna Well, it's not going to be 200 dash. This is just the first iteration, right?
Right.
This, I mean, in my opinion, this is a multi-year project. It might not seem that way.
Specifically, because what AJ has proposed is he wants to get a better idea, and I agree. I want this also. He wants to get a better idea of what would be necessary to do in order to get the first step of platform interaction, which would be creating an identity. That involves deserialization, serialization, things like this. If we want to do that natively in JavaScript, but that's still a discovery phase. The
I
other
got
thing
it.
he wants to do is be able to do that, potentially leave the rest of those if it turns out to be too difficult. He can't even get the first
No, I believe that he would be able to create an identity
okay, so that's the first thing.
without proof. But
And we would
Mhm.
be able to do, if we are able to do that, then wouldn't you think that it might be possible to somewhat automate the process of doing the other parts of it now that the foundation is laid, by either using chat GPT, like translate. You've been able to do this first step in JavaScript, now do these other function calls. What do you think about that? We don't know exactly. I think that we're very close to being able to do the identity because we've gotten that deserialization step done. Beyond that, no.
Okay, but yeah, sure. I think that it's easy to underestimate the amount of stuff that you don't know about. The system is quite complex.
Yes,
I
but it is quite complex, and I've seen AJ's work more than you have, for sure. I've seen him struggle with the complexity of the code bases that he has to navigate, but I've also seen that he's been successful in that. So I wonder if
I'm
you
not
might be
saying
underestimating
the
his
complexity
capabilities.
of the code bases. I'm saying like, okay, you build one state transition, okay?
Yep.
Do you know the various differences between, well, we have like 15 different state transitions, right? We have like 30 different queries.
Right, but
Each
these aren't
query,
handcrafted one at a time. These you could go through a similar once you figure out the process for one, then I would suspect that figuring out and carrying that process through with other function calls could be much more simple, or at least straightforward.
um,
It's a fixed amount of function calls. We need to be able to figure out how difficult one is, or maybe even how difficult two is,
so
to know how difficult will it be to do n+1.
okay, so let's take a query, for example, right? Get contested resources. I'm just choosing one randomly, right? The way the system works, right, is that when you query this, you get back the GroveDB proof, and based off of the query that you have, it creates an internal path query. It converts the high level query. It is basically just layers that it creates a path query, like kind of like machine code, that then can be used to verify that the data that you're getting back is exactly what you want. Not too much, not too little. It corresponds exactly to your query, and you prove that there isn't like missing data, because our proof system is succinct. Basically, that it proves that the data that you got back, there's nothing like missing from the data. Now, the conversion into the path query, right, is like, yeah, it's in Drive for every single query that you have. So what are you going to be doing here? You're going to ask, okay, for every single query, get the WASM to convert it to the path query to then prove but then what else is there? What's the rest of the work in the query part?
Well, I
Is
don't
it
know,
just
and
is
I
it
don't.
just the messaging?
Part of, if I had to step back from all of this, from the finer details, which are important, but if I had to step back, one of my main concerns is that we're calling this Dash platform protocol, right? It's supposed to be a protocol, and if it's a protocol, should it not be easily, or at least moderately easy, to
So
implement protocol in different for different implementations. That's what a protocol is. Is this a
Yeah,
protocol or is it software?
yeah. So there's so there are multiple parts, and Dash Platform Protocol does not have any proofs in it. Just doesn't. The Dash Platform Protocol is like the identity. What are the fields of an identity? What are the fields of a data contract? How are they serialized and deserialized in various formats? That is Dash Platform Protocol. It is not the proof system. It is not the rest of the stuff that we're talking about right now, right? So,
Okay.
yeah. And what has been what you see in the JavaScript bindings that by the way, the current ones that Incubator has had to work with are terrible. Sorry,
We've
I
noticed.
mean, yeah, they're not good. I would not want to work with them, but again, we we have a path to getting it correctly done.
Okay.
But
I- Go
but
ahead, finish that
let me
thought.
finish one last thing. But I mean, I was talking with Yvonne today, and I did not actually like put words in his mouth. I said, read this proposal and tell me what you think. And he was basically saying, okay, we have an unproved wrong way of doing it right now, and AJ is going to make another non-proved wrong way of doing it.
He would disagree with that, and I'll
I
speak
know
for
he
him.
would disagree.
It's not an unproved way. It's a different way to prove the data.
I mean, yeah, but I'm the architect of the
Go back to
system.
the
I can
statement
tell
of
you what the
querying,
right way of proving is.
querying 10 random nodes. Is that secure or is it not? Earlier in the proposal, you said querying 10 random nodes would be secure.
You know,
Are you walking that back?
no, it's not walking that back. It's like, yeah, if you did that, if you queried multiple nodes, it would be it would probably work, but you'd have to deal with a lot of problems. Number one. Number two is, let's take various big people. Well, people with a lot of experience in the project. I would say Evan, me. You can ask Pasta what he thinks about it. Multiple people that have years of experience. You can talk in other communities as well. This is not. I mean, pretty much, this is not the way to do things. Most people would, like any not cryptographer, any
We're trying to
software
serve
engineer.
JavaScript developers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Where any software engineer who saw this would be like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. And then they would walk away. Now, maybe they don't see that, right? Maybe you hide it from them. And okay, sure, it could maybe work. But in the end, like, what does the end user want? He wants something that's stable. He wants something, I mean, I believe, right? And yes, you're right, AJ. I am not a JavaScript developer. I have nothing against JavaScript
We
developers.
do need to address that because not
Uh-huh.
the former part.
But
You do need to address who the end customer is because 99% of people, they actually don't care as much as we'd like them to. They actually don't care as much about decentralization. They want feature sets. They want the ability. So like I said at the beginning of the show, I don't know if you caught that, but most people are just trying to solve a problem. If they want persistent data storage, Dash Platform can give them that without any kind of proof system. And most JavaScript developers would actually welcome that.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, why do they need to make a choice? Like, why are we even deciding, okay, well, maybe this system that's not as good is good enough? Why even go down that path? Like,
because
is
it is good enough for most people.
well, okay, it's
And what
good.
we need what we need most importantly is users. That is the
But
most
you got to
important thing.
understand that, like, if one system, you know, is finished in 2 milliseconds, right, and the other system takes 5 milliseconds, right? I mean, it's not a big difference, right? And you have one system that takes 10% of the data, and one system that takes 10%, 10 times the data. Sorry, I am really tired. And both are offered to you. You're going to take the one that's faster and more efficient, right?
Yes, probably.
Okay.
But what's the point?
So
I would think that
yeah,
having an SDK that does 99.9% versus having an SDK that gives you 99.95%, that's not going to be. It's more important to have a bigger user base than to incrementally increase confidence in the SDK usage by 0.001%. Users to me is the most important factor here.
I mean, of course.
Right. Okay. So we want
Of
users.
course.
We can agree on that. We want users. How do we get users? We give them a good JavaScript SDK to work with, right?
I know, but I think you might think, based off of talks that you've had recently, right, that what AJ is proposing is better. And
Well, it's certainly sooner.
me,
It's certainly sooner.
is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what are the features? So
Undeniably,
here's
AJ
no,
will
no,
AJ
no,
will
wait,
be
wait,
able to
wait, wait,
deliver his
wait.
SDK much sooner than DCG. I can almost guarantee that.
Okay, so let's ask, what are the feature set of that SDK?
Creating an identity, creating documents,
Okay,
creating
let's list them out and
creating
say
data
what
contracts.
date. Let's say what date he will be able to finish it by, because
Well, what
But
date
let's not have a double standard. Let's not have a double standard.
Sam,
Why
what
don't
date-
you commit to a date?
AJ, please. Sam, have you given a date,
would.
Sam?
I would. I mean, why? Okay. Yes.
No, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to the whole Dash community. What date have you given, Sam?
I have not
And I
given
don't
a
want
date.
this to fall on your shoulders.
I thought you said you'd start in April.
AJ,
I would start in April.
A Dash
What?
community project cannot survive by relying on Sam Quantum Explorer doing everything. That is a disaster. That is a recipe for failure. If we rely
you know
on
what?
Sam to be able to do everything we need done, we will fail.
Well, of course. But the point is that I'm not doing that SDK.
That is not a solution. You suggesting that everybody wait until you can get around
I'm not writing it.
Solution.
I'm not writing it no matter what.
Who is
I have a team behind it. Well, we have Ivan and
Why don't
Lucas.
Ivan, is he doing it right now? Is he doing it in 2 days?
And this is why I'm asking for your time frame.
AJ will start in 2 days if the proposal passes.
Okay.
And also, he will put on the verification system, the proof system, when that's ready. I don't see what the problem here is. Why do you not allow people to contribute to the organ to contribute?
No, you can contribute, but you know what?
Outside of the Dash core group organization, why are you not helping to facilitate that, Sam? It is a scalability problem. You need to face it
because
you cannot do everything here.
I obviously cannot do everything, and I'm not. I don't try to do everything.
Then please,
but I don't think that this approach is the right approach.
It is the right approach. It's the approach that gives us the features right now and gives us the proof system later. I don't see what the problem is, Sam. Why are you trying to take other contributors away from the project? I don't understand it. We will bolt on the proof system when you can give it to us. We cannot rely.
I will work with you.
To do everything.
I may not like you personally, but I will work with you to create the best possible product.
Yes.
I will do that. I commit to that.
So Mhm.
Can you, instead of DCG giving a JavaScript SDK, can DCG instead give a proof system through the WASM binding? Just segment out that part.
No, because it's
Then we don't have a protocol. I'm sorry. We have software that's written by one organization and everybody relies on that.
no, you don't. I mean, like what you're asking, right? Is can we just get this one little thing? But what is this?
Sam,
one
you
little
don't
thing?
know what you're saying because you don't have the relevant experience. You don't have experience in engineering, and you don't have experience in JavaScript, and your Rust
Okay.
experience is middling.
Okay, AJ, please. We don't need
I'm
the personal
sure.
attack. I'm as
But it's not a personal
This is-
attack, it's
this
a
is
fact.
great.
Anyone can look at the code base. Anybody who knows code can look at the code base. This isn't a secret. This is BS.
Wow.
Yeah, AJ, Sam had
Okay.
nothing to do with the
Okay.
code base. Okay?
Didn't have anything to do with the code base that's currently being written.
Okay, Sam's been CTO for a shorter amount
He has
of
not
time
been a
than that.
CTO. He has not been a CTO. Name one action he's taken as a CTO. Name one fiduciary responsibility that he has carried out.
Okay, so AJ, we're both frustrated, but the personal attacks have got to go. That's not productive. Okay, we need to stick with the facts. And I'm frustrated.
Tell me how those are not facts. Tell me how those are not facts.
The personal things don't matter. What matters is that we get a good JavaScript SDK that web developers can use. I have confidence that you can build it. I wish DCG was working with us and not against us. We are here to
But it's been this way for years. Every single time a problem comes up, like the 0SSL, like whatever. Let the voters decide. I'm a hothead. You know that.
I'm a hothead too, but I try to focus.
You're not a hothead.
Well, I don't know. You need to.
That was the most excited I've ever seen you in the 2 or 3 years I've known, or that we've been working together.
There's a lot of frustration that's been built up working with this project, because I want it so much to be a good rollout to JavaScript developers, which is our primary target market. I think if DCG or Sam or whoever thinks that if we get a Rust SDK that we're going to have a huge amount of an inrush of developers and users using this, that's sorely mistaken. We need traditional developers to be able to work with this, and we need that as soon as possible. That's why I'm working on this project.
This was like my final bullet point on the list of my proposal. When I originally drafted the proposal, my final bullet point was identities. The other bullet points were the things that I was actually more excited about, the things that are at the protocol layer, making it web accessible. Like that was the thing. Like the bulk of the work will actually end up being, with the way the proposal now stands after the revision, the bulk of the work will probably be in the platform JS SDK. But that's not even what I really wanted to focus on in terms of the way that I believe that we need. The primary thing is web accessibility, and the JavaScript SDK is a big part of that. And I don't know, like we've made all of these libraries. I don't know. I'm frustrated, but more like obviously I'm not doing a good job of it, but I just want to show, well, no, it's not that I want Dash to be the best that it can be. I don't want to see resources wasted. I don't want to see talent squandered. With his thumb on those 26 people, they're getting nothing done. Split them up into 3 different teams. 3 people on this, 3 people on this, 3 people on this. See what would happen in the mobile app in 5 years.
I think a lot of people in the Dash community would agree with that.
Then they need to vote no and let them figure out the consequences. Now, Christmas is coming up. I don't want anybody to lose their job, right? Obviously, some people are going to have to lose their job no matter what, because the only way would be for DCG to create 2 supplemental proposals taking up, 90% of the Dash in order to not have to let people go. But I get that. And I know that they do not have, what was it? 19 senior engineers. I know that there are not 19 senior engineers working on platform. And I think that of senior people, I know, well, I've had a private conversation which strongly indicates that one of them is basically forced to sit on his hands waiting for things to turn around. So,
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
let's
this is like, I don't.
let's circle it back. Okay, let's circle it back. I mean, MNOs are going to decide what they're going to decide. I don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
We'll just let it play out how it plays out. I don't know how that's going to play out. Regardless,
Get his thumb off of people and watch how fast things go. You've never heard of a company that has 19 people working on a single product that got anything done in a quick and efficient manner. Teams of developers are made of 2 to 4 developers. Large teams are 7 people, including a designer. You do not have 19 senior engineers working on something and not manage to be able, with an agile coach, not being able to manage to produce iterative improvements that get pushed in a visible way.
I agree that smaller teams is better, which is why I've tried to remain small, and you know, I'm trying to encourage people to submit their own individual proposals. Even I agree with that. I think that that's the best way to work, and I would like for DCG to split up the organization into teams or projects, very smaller, much smaller teams, at least core and platform, and that
just imagine what the mobile team could have done. Just imagine what they could have done.
Core platform and mobile. That seems to be a good split. But I'm not here to try to. I'm not trying in this show. I'm not trying to convince people to do that, because we've tried that before. It's been unsuccessful. I wish DCG would do it on their own, through their own motivation. But now,
get rid of the what was it? So the 19 developers plus it's 29 people to like the 10 extra people, like HR.
Okay.
What do you need HR for?
AJ, we're done with the talk about DCG for now.
All right.
I want people to focus on let's bring people back to the proposal. Okay.
But the whole thing, it's the system, right? Like we have a big government system, and that's why things aren't getting done. And the center point of this proposal is not the library. Because he said that I could do the library, that I would be able to do it iteratively, and that it would be secure enough. And eventually, other than the fact that he walked back and said he would not provide the WASM to us, that it could be perfectly secure according to his interpretation of perfectly secure if they did provide the WASM binding. So this is not a technical issue. It's not a technical issue. These are not technical problems. And I hope that came through clearly.
Well, to me, this is primarily not a technical issue as well. To me, this is an issue of serving developer and user needs, and platform storage, data storage, and later data execution that is not provided by a corporate entity is something that I think has a huge market for. There's a huge market for that. Dash Platform could provide that, and most developers don't care about a solution.
They are a corporate entity.
I know 99% of developers don't care if a solution that's 99.9% trustworthy or secure. Or
I don't like that false comparison. There is a number. There is a mathematical number that can be achieved. So it's not a matter of 99.99 versus 99.999. We put the number in, and the two things are the same. It is a power.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a power of two things. So it's not a matter of this will be slightly more secure, even in the short term, because there is a number that when we target, okay, how many nines are you targeting? Because there is a number of nines. It is not 100.0%.
I know.
Right. And the BLS signature algorithm is very experimental. There are no production implementations of it. So, there could be issues that come up with it. It sounds like even though there's no production implementations of it, the experimental version has been used in enough production applications that, and that's why there was that breaking change a year ago or so, is because that experimental thing. But anyway, like even with that, there is a number of nines, and we can make the number of nines equal. All you have to do
I
is tell me
agree.
what the number is.
I
So there
agree.
is no difference in, well, this is more secure. There is a difference in this requires more development resources versus this sends more data over the 4 terabyte connection that you're not using.
Right. No, I don't know what you're disagreeing with, because I agree that you can't get
I
to
don't know that I was disagreeing with anything you said.
you
I'm
can't
just I'm hot and
this
bothered.
this completely trustless is a fantasy. I've said it in the Discord. I'll say
Well,
it
it
again.
can't be completely trusted because they are the only ones who have the keys to the kingdom, and they decide willy-nilly when they want to change a protocol.
Well,
Well,
I'm not
I do
even.
have to say one good thing. They did reach out to me when they changed. One of the guys reached out to me, and I don't remember who it was because I'd love to give him credit. But one of the guys reached out to me when they changed part of the RPC protocol. I got an email. It was very professional, exactly the way that I would hope these things would be done. We're planning to implement a change. We're planning to deploy it on this day. I don't believe it's going to affect your service. Please test it.
Mhm.
That was perfect.
Okay.
That's a protocol.
Yeah. Back to the.
Okay.
Right. That is great. Thank you for calling that out. The point that I was making is, we will never achieve, and nobody will ever achieve, no Web3 project will ever achieve complete trustlessness, 100% security. It's a complete fantasy. And I do actually think that DCG believes that the Rust SDK with WASM bindings into a JavaScript SDK will give 100%, 100.00% security. I honestly think that they do believe that, but it's not true. There are so many trust assumptions that go along with, even if you can trust after you've downloaded the JS SDK, that then you have to trust the web application, that it's not just going to change the code that it's delivering on the web server request. I mean, there are so many trusts.
That is absolutely the biggest security vulnerability. The two main issues in security are going to be supply chain attacks, which the more dependencies you have, the more bloat you have, the more you're likely to suffer from a supply chain attack. That is the number one way. And number two
So
is a malicious actor gaining access to that particular server and changing the code on that particular server for that particular app. Now, if we could get these to the point where we're hosting the web apps on the Evo nodes, that could improve that by using the intercommunication verification system, which is where that belongs. That's what the master nodes and the Evo nodes are for, that when they communicate with each other, they can run far more advanced trusted algorithms in a much more concise way than trying to rerun all of that same stuff on the JavaScript side when they've already done that work. But even if you fine, we duplicate the work, whatever. But the point is, they are very well poised to do the full verification of messages to each other and say, hey, before you release this file, I'm going to check to make sure it's the same. And if it's not, you're going to get POSI banned. Like that is a very realistic system, I believe. There's still cache issues where you could create a malignant file and publish it, but it reduces the surface area and the time frame by a lot. Mm-hmm. Well, except that whatever mechanism the person used to upload it to the Evo nodes or to Netlify or to AWS, when that mechanism gets compromised, which is the primary way these compromises happen, then it'll just publish the compromised versions to the Evo nodes and they will be completely susceptible, because there's nothing they can do about it because it'll be signed verified.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. If anybody's still watching, which actually we have more viewers now than we've had for a long time, please ask any remaining questions that you have. My big fear is that that people will see AJ got upset and Ryan even got upset, and we just let's not. This proposal is too controversial.
But people need to see.
And just a minute. I know. I hope people can see through that. I hope people can see we are both passionate because we both very much believe that this project has a lot of potential if we do the right things. And what I don't want to happen is for you, AJ, your proposal to not get funded, and then you throw up your hands and say, okay, I did my best, I tried my most to help this project, and I'm just out. Because I know that we would that would be significantly detrimental to the project in what it can become. If, on the other hand, your proposal does get funded, which I really hope that it does, we can try out. We can see where is the difficulty in implementing this in JavaScript. What are the pain points? What help do we need from DCG to get us from here to there? If we can have that chance and give this a go, I think that we'll find out a lot about the protocol and what we could potentially improve about it, how we can work.
But they have to be open to improvement. That, I think, the linchpin that came out of this, him waffling back and forth, changing the goalpost, and the end result that came out of it, would you be willing to work with us to get that implemented in WASM? No.
Yeah, I mean that was disappointing because that speaks to the project as a whole, and it's concerning because it makes me feel like we don't really have a protocol. We have a software solution delivered by Dash Core Group that we either accept or we don't accept. We don't actually have a protocol. I wish that we had a protocol that they could hand us and say, here are the function calls. Here is the API.
I'm going to defend them. I'm going to defend them on this and why they don't have it. And it's a good reason that they don't have it and why I wouldn't actually expect them to have it. Okay. They have been following a process by which I understand this because I've been in this position before myself. When you have a baby and people want you to get the baby out, but you really need to let it cook. Okay. You don't want other people touching your baby because when other people start to touch your baby, they change your vision. And so he's needed to keep his thumb on things so that it doesn't get out from under him because he's still exploring. He's still figuring it out. I believe that I'm being very generous and honest and non-controversial about this. It's his baby and he wants it to be what his vision is. And he needs to come to the realization on his own how his vision matches up or doesn't match up with what other people really want. But he's not ready for that because he needs to get the baby out and figure out if he thinks it's pretty or ugly before he lets other people say whether it's pretty or ugly.
Okay, but
right? I get that. With the protocol, the only way to develop a protocol is to involve other people and get feedback. There's no other way. You cannot design a protocol on your own and call it, hey, this is our published protocol. But they did that. They went and they published the protocol without having any tools to enable general customers, only in-house tools. And so now they've published a protocol, which is kind of a stake in the ground because, we published it, right? Which, they haven't held that stake in the ground when they want to change it for themselves. But they'll hold that stake in the ground if somebody else wants to see changes in it. That's me maybe not being as generous, but I believe that's true, right?
Okay. So one time says, before you respond, let me respond to this. He says, I really appreciate this discussion, but please don't be disrespectful to Sam. I see how emotional and passionate you feel, and you may be totally right, but please be nice. Now, I think I know how you feel about this. I'll let you respond after that. I want to say that I genuinely think that Sam is doing as much as we can reasonably expect from him. He's doing actually more than we should expect from him. That is actually my biggest concern, is that it seems like there is so much work that DCG has done that Sam has had to come in and redo for good, whether that's good or not. My main concern is that this is not scalable. We need to establish an API protocol that's at least somewhat stable and let other people build on that, how other people want to build on that. And if we need Sam to fix everything, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. We've already been there. We've done this for years already. So I don't want it to continue.
I apologize for getting the years wrong when I said 7 years. I had bad information. I didn't join until 2 years ago, and I had been told that this. I believe his predecessor had been working on it for the previous 2 years.
Yeah, so that's part of it, is that he feels frustrated because he has to come in and clean up all this stuff. Like it's a complete loss that we have to basically scrap the existing SDK that so much time and so many resources have been dumped into, and we have
it was more web ready too. The CBOR was a correct web protocol for, like, that is an existing web protocol. It's a real web protocol. It's not something that was bespoke, and it is something that is efficient both in network storage and in storage. And it is a real shame that some of the good decisions got thrown out. And I don't know what good, bad. Obviously, people who wrote the SDK weren't JavaScript developers.
Yeah, well, and I honestly don't know what Sam's target market is. I honestly think that his target market is Rust developers, and this is something where we just fundamentally disagree. That there are so few Rust developers that are blockchain enthusiasts like that. The overlap of that Venn diagram is so small that if we're relying on that, we will fail. And on the other hand, if we cater to the traditional JavaScript developer that just wants to have some persistent data storage somewhere, or a cloud function that does some kind of operation for them, that we could do even without smart contracts. We could do that with just a normal, running Dino on the master nodes or something like that. We've talked a little bit about that stuff in the past, but that's a way bigger market that we have proven data on, that there is a real market for that. Like, people pay money for that, and venture capitalists throw millions of dollars spinning up companies to serve those needs. And so us focusing on the crypto niche of Rust developer blockchain enthusiasts is absolutely a wrong business decision. And I don't expect Sam to make business decisions, but there's nobody else making business decisions at DCG. So it is down to the CTO, Sam.
He is not the right person for that. And a biz dev for 1 hour a week, if you're going to have a fluff position, that's the fluff position to pump. Anyway, I do want to acknowledge what one time said. Okay, please don't be respectful to Sam. I acknowledge you one time.
Please don't be disrespectful, he said.
Yeah, please don't be disrespectful. Respect is earned. I have not seen things that he has earned my respect. I'm not saying that I'm right in this situation. I know that I'm wrong in this situation. But you're going to have to accept that I'm wrong in this situation in terms of my level of respect, or not, because I do not have respect for him. He has not earned my respect. And I may not have earned his, and I may not have earned yours. But that's how I feel.
Well, you have my respect. I don't respect.
No, I meant you one time. I don't know whether I have one time's respect or not. And obviously, this is a peg down on the stepladder for me to disrespect someone he respects.
Right.
But I want to acknowledge that, because I don't want to let it go by me ignoring it. And I also don't want to placate and say, yeah, I'll try to be more respectful, because he has not earned my respect.
And that's fine. Like, again, like I said earlier, probably halfway through the show, we shouldn't expect everybody to agree and to like each other. This is a diverse community with diverse goals and strategies. And I don't think I think that should actually be encouraged. This is why we're having this conversation out in the public, because these things need to get out. And I think that this has been kind of coming to a head for a while. You have differences of opinion and disagreements with Sam on a technical level. I have disagreements with Sam on a business strategic level.
Well, I also have disagreements with him on a moral level. I think it's immoral to do what he's doing. It's not just technical choices. I believe that it is fundamentally immoral to misappropriate funds that way. If he was tried in a court of law, he would have, obviously the people who voted him are not going to try him in a court of law, but he has, okay, let's take the CTO thing aside. That's a joke. It's just something that has to be filled out on paper. He is not acting as a CTO. He is not a CTO, but okay, so I won't even proceed with that argument because it's a completely strawman argument on the basis of fiduciary responsibility. Never mind. So Sam, I don't know if anybody screenshotted it because it got removed, but Sam commented something like, in 6 months when it fails. Well, the good thing is, this is not what I really want to be working on. I see potential in other avenues. Most of my proposals are not going to be continue to build the JavaScript SDK. If I get feedback that says, we want you to build the JavaScript SDK, we see what you did here and we want you to keep doing it, I'm going to keep doing it because I'm a mercenary. I'm a utilitarian. I'm going to do what you pay me to do. Whether I like it or not, whether I agree with it or not, I'm going to do the best job that I can to meet the goals that you have. I will do that.
You meaning
but,
yeah.
Yeah, meaning, sorry, I am looking at the crowd here.
Yeah.
The people who are voting. I will do my best job to fulfill what you want because, much like the whole theory of the blockchain nodes, I am an uninterested party, which makes me good for some things because I am motivated by you vote me to do what you want me to do and I am going to do my best to do it. But there are things that I personally believe are far more valuable that will lead to more success quicker based on what I believe about the economy, based on what I have learned about business, based on projects that I have worked on. And I'm going to be submitting proposals for those too. So let's say that it becomes a big laugh. Ha ha ha, AJ, you're an idiot. You and Ryan were totally wrong on this, which I don't think people are going to laugh about it. But let's say it's waste, right? And I've already said, I think that 30% of the money should be dedicated towards waste because that's how you grow and learn, right? But let's say that this is a waste proposal. I do a crappy job. I come back and I say, look, I was so wrong. It was so wrong.
You're saying it gets funded and you do it, but then it doesn't continue. That's the scenario you're
Yeah. So we don't have to fund this for 6 months. This is no big commitment. Like I don't have a guarantee that my proposals pass every month. They have to pass on their merit.
Right. And that's actually an interesting observation because Sam just implicitly made the assumption that if we fund this for the first 2 months, obviously it's going to be funded for the next 3 years, which is not true. People can
I do not want to work on this for 3 years.
People can fund this for the first 2 months. 400 Dash is a complete drop in the bucket compared to what we've spent on all sorts of stuff. If it doesn't turn out, fine. We don't continue to fund it. And that's exactly why you put up proposals on an individual proposal basis so that we don't have to do that. But I think that it's very important to try to find out if you can deliver the value proposition to these Web 2 traditional developers to be able to interact with Dash platform in a way that's very simple, very streamlined, very lightweight, very performant, and honestly, very secure. So I guess that's kind of where I'd like to leave it. If you have any other final remarks, go ahead with them. But that's what I hope. I really hope that MNOs see the value in trying to accomplish this and see where it goes. And if it doesn't keep going, it's perfectly fine to not continue funding it in the future.
Yeah. So One Time says most important. Oh, you want to put his comment up?
Sure.
Most importantly, it sounds like you guys are saying it will not be a risk of exploiting and shaving evolution. I'm going to quote back to Sam on that. Sam does not believe that it is a risk of exploitation. And again, we'll have to figure out what the number is. He said 10. We'll figure out what it is. But no, Sam is confident in that himself.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
If Sam's, I'm not going to trust that number. I'll verify. But
yeah, there is no risk that I can see of being exploited and shaming evolution. I see that.
And remember, the messages that need to be verified, other than the initial request for the keys, the messages that need to be verified are not the messages from platform. They're the messages that are signed inside the message from platform, right? So you have the outer pipe that's sending the message.
Yeah,
you verify that.
Yep.
And what you actually need is because I could literally send you a text message well, okay, maybe not a text message because of the way they're formed, but I could send you an email that has an attachment. I could send a carrier pigeon that has a USB drive that has the encoded data the same way that platform would submit it. And if I plug that in, all I need is the signature on that data. The transport protocol for the messages is not the key value proposition. When we're talking about apps people actually built, like the two that have been proposed are the password manager, which I have to agree. Initially, I said, I don't think there's any real use case for platform. Password manager checks the boxes for me. So I would love to see the password manager on platform.
The
Twitter thing, not so sure about.
They're definitely more than that. I guarantee it. I mean, whether
sure, but that was one that's a clear win. That was one where I was very, very skeptical. And when somebody mentioned that, I was like, okay, there are probably other applications like this. Is it, do they have a market share of $10 million to draw people in and make platform worth the money that's been spent on it?
Listen,
we'll see. Maybe password manager could do that.
Any application developer that needs persistent data storage, cloud data storage, there's an application for that. If we make it easy enough and comparable to a traditional database SDK that they would use as a centralized service. And I think that that's well within reason for us to provide, and it will be way more secure than a centralized data service. So there are tons of applications that if we get the JavaScript SDK right, that we will have applications for. So
I would be totally happy to provide the framework for the, provide that layer. Like if we were to look at -P2P or -HD or some of these other libraries that I've created, I would be happy to provide the framework that's like, okay, I've got the first 3 messages in, DCG, take it from here.
Yeah.
Because that's not the work that I really want to do, but what I really don't want to see is what we've been having in the past, where there's these huge bulky libraries. They're not written idiomatically in JavaScript. They're very complex when you need to do something that isn't explicitly provided by the library to be able to make a pull request to, or make a change, because the layers are so far deep. I want to see something that as platform can and should evolve when people need to go update this. It's not, like the very scenario he's talking about why it should be in Rust. Nobody can update the Rust SDK except for a handful of people. And you look at what's in there. Talk to people that have had to go through the Rust SDK in the community. Get them in a private chat. Tell them, hey, I'm not going to post this publicly. What are your thoughts on the Rust SDK? Let that happen, because people don't want to be messing around in that.
Yeah, and I think that if we get into it and we do 1 and then 2 and maybe 3 function calls, platform function calls, there's going to be a pattern. There's going to be a way to somewhat automate this and have a system that can easily update this. I mean, we saw, if people are curious, look up the Incubator Weekly show that we did with Matt Peterson. He seemed fairly confident that he's a Rust guy and a JavaScript guy. We can tap him. You could tap him under this budget potentially to help frame that as well. So I think we've gone for over 2 hours. I don't feel bad about spending a little extra time this week. It's a very important topic. Again, I hope that people see the value in trying this out. And let's go ahead and end it there. Thank you for coming on. Sorry.
And remember, there's 3 other things in that proposal.
Right.
So if we granted, with the way the proposal's written and with the priorities that I have ascertained from Ryan and from Shimnick, my highest priority needs to be that library. But there's other things in that proposal that I hope and expect to have time to work on. So if we have to throw the library away, we're going to have some other stuff too.
Okay. All right. Well, let's end it there. Thanks everybody for joining in, and we'll see you next time.